Call the meeting of the Board of Assessors to order. It's 9:16 a.m. Wednesday, June 29th, 2022. We're in the Old Town Hall. Attendance. Mr. Moore, Mrs. Goulart. Mr. Easterday is absent, so I will assume chairmanship for the meeting. And we have Mrs. Schechter here, our full-time assessor. First order of business, under old business, we have agenda item 3A, schedule of meetings for the remainder of 2022.
Okay, it is, it's on the calendar already.
So I know at least one, maybe multiple of these that I will not be able to attend. I don't know if you, you want to note it, or
Yeah, I can put
if
a
you want
note.
to change the day or just do it without me.
I know one,
It's,
there's two, I'm not gonna be here either.
so I know for sure July 20th I will not be here.
Okay, me either, so maybe we need to change that one.
I know. Third is good.
17th, I'm not supposed to be here.
Okay, so July 20th, we need to reschedule. Did you say August 17th?
August 17th is for me, but if everyone else can make it.
Well, you're kind of like the main.
No, you guys can come in and,
You're the one that puts all this stuff
You put
together.
everything together. I mean, can you get Valerie or Lisa to do it?
we're better off just changing it.
Okay.
How about September?
September's good for me.
Yep,
The rest, I don't know, I just know I have 2 weeks off.
okay. All right,
Second is not good for me. That's the other one. I will not be here.
okay. So rather than change these now, I suggest we wait till the meeting in July 6th when Eric's here, because he may have some.
He may have dates, yeah.
Right.
So,
Okay.
so this will be on the agenda for, under old business.
Yep.
Just go over this again.
Yep,
And if you just mark those 3 dates,
yep. no-
reschedule, and we'll see what Eric has as far as availability.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, agenda item 3B, discuss late application, Reed Brothers Farm Map 16 lots 26A, 24.
This is the one we postponed to today. Really, there's nothing we can do for them because they did miss the deadline. But their taxes, what we could have done is take them out and make them pay rollback. But what we did was just put them at market value for 1 year. So really, instead of $20, it's $300. It's not like it's turned into $5,000 or something. And then the other lot is about $35 they would pay under chapter, and it's $435. So it's really,
And they are okay with this, as far as you know?
I would imagine
That's what we
so.
discussed last time.
Yeah, they haven't actually paid the rollback yet, that we've given them a while back now. So we do have to reach out.
I'm confused, I guess. So are we charging them a rollback or not?
So they have a rollback because they took 2 acres out.
Mhm.
And they didn't make this application. All the other, like 10 applications they brought in, but for these 2 lots, they didn't. And they were told about it. So I have to reach out and find out what's going on with the rollback that they need to pay, because I haven't heard that it's come in yet. So,
But this has nothing to do with the rollback.
right, I'm just saying they still.
I'm saying this
owe that.
particular piece of property, when we discussed last week, I believe you had said, last meeting, I believe you had said that they knew that they didn't file in time and they were okay with it.
Yeah.
So I'm just verifying that.
Yes.
So we have to sign this?
Yeah, I guess.
So I move that we sign the notices of late application for Reed's Brothers Farm.
And I will step down in a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So that 2 acres they took out, that was purchased, that was a sold to the, okay.
But I haven't seen, as far as I know, I haven't seen the rollback, that rollback paid yet. I could put that on my to-do list too. The next thing is the update on Stowgate Landing, so. I'll let Nancy take this.
So Stonegate Landing, came in and made a presentation at our last meeting. Alleged that the town has overtaxed them, double dipped, and a few other derogatory terms relative to taxes. I was at the ZBA meeting, and I mentioned that my assignment from that was just answer the question, do they owe taxes? And yes, absolutely, they owe taxes. I went back to the ZBA meeting and told them that according to the research that was done at Town Hall between the assessor's office and the tax collector's office, it appears that $43,000 is owed. Now, there was a simple answer to that, and they knew it at that meeting, and yet they, when I say they, the representatives for ZBA, for Stonegate, they haven't paid February and May. Automatically, those are open taxes. That's for this year, okay? Anyhow.
Are you saying the 43,000 is for this year?
I think it's a combination of things based on
21 and 22.
the property cards that were given to me. So I did go to the ZBA meeting just to answer that one question. And so they voted to continue the hearing because their practice is, we don't hear hearings if taxes are owed. I explained to the ZBA that we had agreed that we were going to look at this account, we're going to audit it. We explained the method we were going to use to determine what taxes are owed, what was paid, resolve the whole thing. So I sent an email to the attorney that was here at our last meeting. I got this lengthy blah, 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 blah recount of what happened at the meeting. And I said to her, all I need is documentation. All of what you're saying is not what we're going to base this audit on. It's going to be based on documentation. I need copies front and back of the checks that you used to pay them. And if somebody paid in cash, like the gentleman that really owns that at this point in time, I want a copy of the receipted bill from the town that shows paid in cash and date. I need documentation. I also asked for their business certificate because it was brought to my attention. No one can find them listed with the Secretary of State. That is Able Realty. I wrote again and said, just please send me the documentation I need, okay? Before I answered that, I had 4 more emails, which I didn't reply to. I finally got, one of the emails had 3 checks attached, just the fronts, not the backs. One of the checks is missing. It doesn't total the kind of money we're talking about, but it's a place to start. So.
So you're saying that one of the checks they sent, we did not?
No, it was a blank.
Problem solved.
It just says, like, for example, when I get my checking account statement, if they got the checks back, there's a photo of the front. But if it's not, it just says the amount and the check number, okay?
Yeah.
But anyhow, I got back to her and explained to her, look, don't keep sending me all this. It goes on and on. Somebody's paying dearly for all these emails, and I'm not going to contribute to that because without the documentation, they've got nothing. So anyhow, another one came in, and I was talking to the tax collector yesterday, and I said, I'm going to send one more, and I'm going to explain to her what the audit process is. You have an an entrance interview, which I consider the presentation before the Board of Assessors, the entrance interview. They came in, presented their case, explained what their concerns were. I sat through that at the ZBA meeting, okay? I heard the same thing.
Same presentation.
So that's our entrance interview.
The same demeanor?
the attorney wasn't at the ZBA board, but yes, the remarks about what the town has done that's wrong and everything, without, in other words, because the individual made the statement, it's supposed to be true, and we should not challenge that, so. So I was, again, discussing this with the tax collector. I said, so, after the entrance interview, when we talk about everything that needs to be looked at, we get all the documentation, and we will match the documentation to town records. And if we have town records that they have not addressed, we'll get back to them and say, what do you know about this, so forth. When we're all done and have a understanding and, look, this is what we found based on documentation, we will prepare a preliminary findings report. At that point in time, we will get in touch with the other party and say, we're going to discuss the preliminary findings report. This is going to be your exit interview, which means you get the report, you review it. If you dispute anything in there, when we meet, you bring it to our attention. If there's documentation needed, you have got to bring that, because just arguing is not going to resolve anything. When we're all done, the findings, the preliminary becomes the finding report. That's what goes, if you will, in the records, indicating everything that's been done, the documents we use to verify everything. So, anyhow, Mr. Reynolds says, sounds good to me. I said, so anyhow, I'll copy you on that email, copy Mrs. Schechter. This is how it's going to go. We are not going to continue. She wants to have a meeting. And I said, no, without documentation, I'm not going to sit through a few more hours of what they think happened. It's not relevant. I said to her in one interview, please stop arguing the case. We are not doing this. Everything's going to be based on documentation, okay? So anyhow, I haven't responded to the one for the meeting, but I'm just going to let her know, this is the audit protocol we're going to follow. This is how you do an audit. This is what we're going to do. And yes, you're going to have an opportunity to come back and say, I don't agree with that, but you've got to have documentation, because we are not going to go on assumptions, either from your assumptions or town. We're going to go with what we find.
So this audit process that you're speaking of, this is a accounting audit, meaning, how much do they owe versus how much they paid?
It'll take into account everything. It's going to be, if you
But
will.
not the basic dispute about the land.
Well,
This is about the money.
the problem is, as they raised publicly the issue, the gentleman that owns Stonegate LLC sold off lots, had to buy them back because that was illegal.
Right.
Then turned around and sold off 19 more lots on which she paid taxes. And then found out you can't do that either. So one of my questions to her was, who was the attorney that represented the purchaser? Should have known it was a 40B and you can't sell off lots. And why did you write checks for property that your clients didn't own legally? So all of this kind of stuff is it'll be all encompassing. Starting with their allegations. We've been overtaxed, we've been paid, your records are wrong, on and on and on.
So I want to address that. That's something I have thoughts on.
Yeah,
But,
yeah, go
what you're
ahead.
saying now is new to me. I want to say I'd given this a good deal of thought after the meeting, and thought about, what they were requesting versus what should we be doing about it. And I think their initial request of saying, properly classifying the sizes of the property, I think from today, today forward, we should correct it, obviously. I hope you already have corrected the size of that lot.
Well, no, simply because we've got to get as much documentation from them, because they've made allegations that our records are wrong. So we say
But you're
to
talking
them,
about money. I'm not talking about money. I'm just talking
no, it's the
about-
whole kit and caboodle. The number of lots, the total acres that's across the street, who owns what, who sold what, who bought it. We've heard the narrative of all of that, but in looking at the records here at Town Hall, in the process of looking at the records for the land, it's also going to bring out the information we need about the taxes paid. Because when this is all done, not only will we know what taxes were paid and if there's anything owed, well, we know February and May are owed anyhow, but also the records at the town will be correct. And the other question is this straight at the Registry of Deeds? Because
It's not.
their goal is get everything straightened out. The new company, the purchaser, wants to buy the rest of it and develop it. Well, if the land records are not correct, that's got to be straightened out, which is part of what we're all looking at. And along with that will come, once the land is straightened out, we'll know the tax numbers too. So it's a two-pronged attack. That's why both.
But let me get back to that, saying that
Okay.
even through this process, we are going to get the correct dimensions and hence the correct assessment for this parcel.
Mhm,
That is for today going forward.
mhm.
All of this talk about, being double dipped and all that kind of stuff, and I'd given that thought, and obviously I think it's wrong, that we shouldn't be double taxing somebody. However, giving a thought, what are they actually asking for is what they're asking for is an abatement. Or if they're saying we've been double dipping them all this time and we owe them money, well, it doesn't work that way. Like you said, you don't just come into a meeting and say, you owe us money with, oh, sorry, we're going to write you a check. The appropriate process is for them to file an abatement request. Now, the problem is they're out of time. They're not able to file an abatement request at this time. So
That's a
by
word
law,
they have never mentioned.
okay.
But I
I'm
understand what you're saying.
I'm saying by law, anything from the past, whatever we've billed them, they have no right to file an abatement at this time. Now, that being said, this board does have options to appeal to the state. I want to make it clear that if we do anything going in the past, it's purely out of goodwill. We are not required by any means to provide them any sort of relief for, even if it was a mistake. So that was the point I wanted to make, is that stuff in the past, there needs to be like a hard line saying, what's going on in the future versus what's gone on in the past. We're not going to change anything in the past without an abatement request.
Well, and the reason why I believe they have not asked for an abatement is because, number one, if we find that prior to February 1st of this year, when the taxes were due for the third quarter, we already know they owe us money, okay? They may be thinking, well, we owe them February and May, so if there's any money that we were overtaxed, we're going to say to them, we
Or
already
just wipe
paid
it
you.
off or something like that. It doesn't work that way.
But I don't believe, now, based on what Mr. Custom said, and based on the request he made at our meeting for me to do, and I said no, Mr. Custom is the speaker for the purchases. They just want to acquire the property and finish the project. And the gentleman that owns everything right now has got 2 lots that he wants to keep and finish as the first part of that project, okay? The big problem they all faced with is they can't get past the ZBA.
And they're not getting
And-
past the ZBA till they get past us.
Correct, because that's why after Mr. Custom explained everything to us, and I said what we were going to do, and he says, well, would you speak to the ZBA? And in other words, let them know you're working on it, so it's okay to talk to us. And I said, no. Dealings with the ZBA and what rules they follow have nothing to do with us. Our task, our assignment from ZBA is, do they owe taxes? Yes. And so at the ZBA meeting, I said, I'm going to need some more time. We're going to do the audit. We're going to get documentation. I can't tell you I'm going to have this whole thing resolved by your July meeting, but I will be able to give you an update and tell you what we have found. I said, how fast this gets resolved is going to depend on how fast we get documentation to show what support for their position. So, so I think the real focus is push this through the ZBA, and that's not,
Not a
no,
problem.
no, we don't do that. Just like when we determine taxes are due, payable, we don't go out and collect them. That's why the collector's involved, okay? So Becky in the collector's office and Paul and Steffi and I have been talking about this. Mike Mullen is in the loop, just so he knows what's going on, you know? So in reviewing everything, and I talked to Mike yesterday, he says, sounds good to me, you know, keep going the route you're going. I said, well, we're getting an assessors meeting tomorrow, and I will explain to the board what has happened and what we're doing. So this is where we are. Becky's out this week, so when she gets back, she's got a few checks, at least 3 with the front. Again, I want the back because the date of the check on the front doesn't mean that's when the payment was processed.
Right.
We have to see on the back. One other interesting tidbit. The building commissioner asked the potential developer, Able Realty, to submit a copy of their building permit, not permit, business certificate.
Business.
That you register or you get from the state, because he couldn't find it anywhere. I checked with Kerry yesterday, and she says, I've looked everywhere, Rhode Island and Massachusetts, I can't find them. So twice I requested a copy of the business certificate, and when I was asking for all this other documentation.
What does this have to do with us? What does their business certificate have to do with the Board of Assessors?
They're not registered anywhere. They don't own the property. They can't.
You're saying they can't represent their client? Is that what you're
No,
saying?
what I'm saying is, they came in here as the
Representative of the buyer.
purchaser.
Yep.
At the ZBA meeting, the 3 men were there who are supposed to be part of this.
I remember 2.
They call it a partnership, but it's more than 2 people. So the group that wants to purchase this. So in the course of this whole thing and what's going on, because the building commissioner, obviously, if this were getting near the permitting stage, if he found out there were taxes owed, he wouldn't issue the permit either, because that's just something we don't do.
Right, makes sense.
But as I said, it's just a piece of information that says, it just adds another curveball to this whole ballgame. They purchased property that they shouldn't have purchased because the seller could not legally sell it. Their attorney paid taxes on property that legally they didn't own. It all came back. They're representing themselves as this building company, organization, whatever. And the only part of this that is, as I said, the tidbit that's out there, it's just information for us, because the other thing is, going forward, Kerry knows, then the zoning board knows. We're not really sure who we're dealing with. All we know is that supposedly it was 3 men the night it was ZBA. 3 gentlemen represented by Mr. Cussum bought property that technically doesn't exist. Able Realty bought the property, but they don't exist because they don't have their certificate. So the question to the attorney was, we'll still figure out the taxes. Somebody paid money and we'll figure it out. But I told her, based on the records at Town Hall, the legal owner of that entire piece of property from end to end is Stonegate Landing LLC, right? All of these other things that happened just kind of complicate the situation. We're still going to look at it all. It's just that in dealing with resolving this, we have Stonegate Landing, the legally recorded owner of everything. We have taxes paid by an organization that technically doesn't exist because they don't have a business certificate. The reason they don't have a business certificate, the attorney said, is because there's another person that might want to come in on this. So again, this is just side information.
Right, I'm saying
All right,
this
so
doesn't really
we're still
affect
going to
us.
pursue
Yeah.
taxes, we're still going to pursue documentation and everything we need. We're going to conduct the audit. It's just that in the course of going down the road to do the audit, every now and then, there's a piece of information that comes in that makes you stop and wonder. We're still on the road, we know what we're going to do.
Yeah, it's obviously, it's
Yeah.
messy, but that's not our
But
problem.
it's just, yeah,
I wanted to say that it appears that what you're saying right now, you believe that they owe us $43,000 in taxes. I would like to submit that unless you can prove that there's another check we received or something like that, some check we missed or something like that through your accounting process, I would suggest that they need to pay the $43,000 before we do anything else. We need to obviously correct if there is an error. There was an error, obviously, in the size of the lot.
Right, it was on the
That
mapping.
needs to fix.
The
to be
mapping,
fixed.
which we know, but the mapping is for visual. The map is not where the taxes come from, so the system is correct that it's 12,000. The map still has 36,000 as that acreage, but it's really only 12 because of those lots split out, so the
Are you saying
system,
that they were only billed for the 12,000?
that is the research I started, but then it was taking up all my time going through all the records. So, I mean, it was 36,000, we broke off 19 lots, and then reduced the remaining acreage to still be 36 between, then I stopped, I had to get the bill file out and things like that, so I finally, with all the emails, stopped doing what I was doing. So the map does say 36, but that's not reflected on the taxes on the system.
So then they weren't overbilled.
Right, but I still need to research and make sure it's all good, because it
So-
went hand in
Okay,
hand
so,
to
so
hand.
in either case, what I'm suggesting is we need to fix that in the system.
Correct,
At this point, at this moment, and let me be very clear, at this exact moment, we have no abatement request in front of us.
correct.
So that means fix it, and next year's tax bill, if it changes, it changes, if it doesn't, it doesn't. We fix it, as they requested when they came in here. If they want to talk about money going back, first of all, they got to pay the $43,000, assuming that's the amount that they owe. If they want to talk about getting any of that $43,000 back or anything further back, I, for one, would perfectly willing, if it was wrong, I would consider their request as a valid request. I mean, I don't think it's right for us to double tax somebody. But at this point in time, and now you're saying we may not have even done it. What I'm saying, there's different things here. You're talking about ownership. We're talking about, whether the maps are correct, and we're talking about, what was paid in the past. We've got to pull all these things apart. First of all, fix the map. That's the most
We only
important thing.
update that
and that's
once a
easy.
year, so once a year, it's sent to the mapping. So
Okay,
we're going to do that shortly, but it's only
but
updated
if it
once a
changes the
year.
billing, you need to let us know.
But it won't,
doesn't look
because
like
it
it will.
doesn't grab from the map.
Doesn't grab
and
from
put
the
it-
map,
No,
right.
it's two, it's
So
separate entities.
It sounds like, and if you could just, verify that before our next meeting, that we are definitely not overbilling them. Which, again, solidifies the fact they have to pay the $43,000. So I feel like that is the answer here. They need to write us a check for $43,000 before anything moves.
except the fact that they have a lawyer involved is the threat of litigation. Neither the Board of Assessors, the tax collector, I'm sure the ZBA want to get involved with litigation on behalf of the town, because it's going to cost us money. The fact of the matter is, as long as there is a question about the status of it, and the fact that they've raised all these issues, which personally, I think a lot of it is static. Sometimes, because the whole goal was, get this through the ZBA. That's why I was asked to go to the ZBA and try to convince them.
Right, but they owe taxes.
I said, no, okay? The other
What's there to
thing
litigate?
is,
I don't understand where they could litigate. What have we done wrong? There's nothing we've done wrong here.
and that's why.
Especially if it's correct that we haven't even been overbilling them.
And so that's why with the checks that came in, Becky will take that and she will match it back to the records.
Right.
Once she does that, she can give that information to Stephanie and say, this is exactly what they got billed for. She can match it against assessor's records. So we've already corroborated, or if we find an error, like Stephanie says, the map shows this, that's not what we billed you for. This is what we billed you for, which is exactly what you owe, what you own.
And the bill should
Okay.
show how
And the bill
much the
should show,
acreage
right.
in the
Yes.
map and lot.
I've
So,
gotten one of those bills.
In those myriad of emails, the attorney went online and she's arguing the maps. And I said, no. We're not getting into that at this point. I need the payment records, all right? Because as Stephanie said, to try to figure it out, excuse me, from an assessor's standpoint, it's going to take too much time. So if you follow the money and we work it backwards, in other words, tell us what you paid, prove what you paid, give us the documentation. It'll come back. Becky will verify from the tax collector end, give it to Stephanie, she can verify from the assessor's end. We're going to end up with a neat package.
So don't we, so now we're straying into collector zone, which I don't have any expertise in, but don't we get a check and cross-reference it to a bill and saying this check pays for this bill? Don't we have like, I don't know, in every business I've ever been in, you've got outstanding invoices, and when you receive a check, you pay that one, you pay that one, you pay that
I would
one.
imagine so. I
It's
really don't
matched,
know
and so
what
there
they
should be bills that are
received.
paid
Would
and
think
forgotten
so.
about,
We're
and
going
there should be outstanding bills.
But the problem
And where are
is,
they?
the problem
Multiple years,
is,
multiple
all right, so
lots.
you pay my company for services. I send you a bill, you say, oh yeah, write the check, my company gets paid. Down the road, I contact you and say, hey, I think I overpaid you for whatever, or you overpaid me, whatever the case is. The minute somebody says, I think I overpaid, then the response is, can you give me the check, copy of the checks that were paid or whatever,
Right.
so I can verify it. This is exactly what we're doing.
Right, so you have open bills, and you say, show me the checks that you've paid for these open bills.
But that's not the case.
And if they
we're
send
dealing
us
with
those
here.
checks and we apply them to some other bills, then you have to say, okay, these other bills were the checks and so on and so
Right,
forth.
and in the case of you and I doing business, it's simple, we can work it out. That's not the case when you get into municipal taxes and assessors records and all that good stuff, because, as you said, rules kick in, rules about abatements, DOR, all these
That's not, yeah,
regulations.
but we're not talking about abatement now, we're talking about how much they were billed versus how much they paid.
Right, and
how
the
much
way
do
to
they
prove
owe.
it
This is just accounting.
is the track that we're following,
Mhm.
all right?
Okay, so I don't think that changes what I said, which is they need to pay, we need to figure out the number, I guess, and then they need to pay that number. And then
Yeah,
after that,
so which-
if you want to talk abatement, then file an abatement request.
Well, obviously, this is going to be on our agenda for
A while.
next meeting, in a while.
Hold business for a while.
In the meantime, when Becky gets back, she's got at least some information, and I hope we're going to get the backs of those checks. And then,
I can forward you the latest from the lawyer so you can have.
I would love to see everything at any time.
Okay.
Just,
It was
even
just,
if I just skim it to be up to date
let
on
me
it.
send
I'm just
him,
simply saying that they need to pay the
Right.
money, they need to understand that, again, I'm on their side as far as if they've been overbilled.
Right, oh,
I
yeah.
will
we
be-
all agreed to
Yeah.
that.
I will be
Yes.
a champion for them. But they have a bill, and they have to pay it.
Mhm.
I mean, it's not pleasant, I don't like it either, but they have to pay the bill, and then you can talk about going to ZBA. Until they pay the bill, nothing happens. And we're not going to change the bill unless there's some accounting error without an abatement request. Can we all agree to that?
Yeah, the other problem we have is for February and May of this year that have not been paid,
Mhm.
have nothing to do with the people making all the noise that want to go to the ZBA. The liability for those taxes is with the gentleman that currently owns that whole package over there, okay? We haven't heard from him. I said to the attorney, by the way, you're talking about the realty company that wants to buy this. Are you representing the gentleman that actually owns this and has not paid the February and May taxes? So that's another issue.
If I may, we are required to know who the owner of record is as of January 1st.
Which we do.
If there's anybody else, oh, I bought it, I sold it, that's not our problem. If I sell you a piece of property, in the closing, You and I have to work out, oh, Bill already paid the taxes,
Right.
so Nancy has to give Bill a check. That's our problem. It's not the Board of Assessors, it's not the town's problem. Our only issue is figuring out who owns it as of January 1st. And that is done by
Which we
what's
know.
at the registry of deeds. So all this other stuff, as you said, is static and noise. I don't care who owned what at what point.
Except almost $6,000 was paid on property over there for taxes by somebody that technically didn't own it. Took them a while to figure out he couldn't
Why do we
sell
care
it.
about that?
Because they're the ones making the noise to get the money and to push it through ZBA. So that complicates. The example you just gave of you and I doing business, that's clean, that's cut. This is not what we're dealing with here, okay? So this is why
How is that?
there are
Because, like I
complications.
said, as of January 1st, the Stonegate Landing LLC is the one as the owner of record, correct? So
Correct,
they owe the taxes.
correct.
I don't care if somebody else wrote the check. If I'm going to give a refund, I'm going to give a refund to Stonegate LLC because they are the owner of record. All these other people, they need to fight with Stonegate LLC. It's not our problem. We don't need to get involved with all this minutia.
Except the party that is trying to purchase the property and get this through the ZBA and everything else is the one represented by an attorney. And that's why this whole thing is being
The attorney
pursued.
should be very well aware of
The
this.
per-
This is normal procedure.
Well, I kind of think the attorney was involved with the purchase of the land to begin
To begin
with, so
with,
let me leave it there. So anyhow, I will forward to you the emails, because
Please.
mine starts out and it goes on, it's got all the long, the ones that I didn't,
You should send it to Stephanie and Stephanie.
well, so that's something else that Mike told us about, as far as members of the Board of Assessors, we can send information out for your information only, FYI.
Yeah.
There can be no expression of opinions or anything else. I will send it through Stephanie, simply because there's dialogue technically between me and the attorney. And so I don't want that to be misconstrued that, well, Assessor Goulart was actually offering opinion here, all right? So I will do that. It'll be long, because it starts, because we just keep adding
read
on
fast.
and on. But anyhow,
15 pages.
so.
I read selectmen's meetings, agendas, I'm good.
So anyhow,
On, we're
I don't
just,
think
No,
so.
no.
We're just discussing it.
it'll continue to be an
But
update.
I would say in that vein, I do agree with you that, we can communicate. What is it, the ethics laws, I believe? No, the
Open meeting law.
Open meeting laws. Reading through that, they discourage
Correct,
communication through email. So I would say the right thing to do is it should go through Stephanie, and it should be on our official Town of Dayton email accounts, just to make sure there's a record. I mean, I'm saying that we should not be communicating through our personal accounts unless it was, happy birthday or something.
I don't have a town account that works, that's why.
So that's what I'm saying, send it to
Comcast.
Stephanie, and she'll send
Yep.
it to me, and that's fine.
So it'll go to Eric and Bill, because we haven't sent any of this to Eric either.
Bill got a,
And I would think that,
can I send you one?
anytime that any assessor, myself, Eric, or Nancy, has a communication with someone that is pertinent to assessor's business, it should be sent to everyone else, so we're all aware of what
Fine.
everybody is doing.
Okay, well,
There was just like 8 in one day. Tried to get the most recent out to everyone at one point. Okay.
if I go back to in the beginning, I was gonna say God created it.
That's what it sounded like you were going to say
That's what it happened, though.
in the
They,
beginning.
they continue
There we
to
go.
add on, so that's the one I will read back and send that one, so that'll be the most encompassing. I am, as I told Mr. Reynolds yesterday, I am going to outline the procedure and how they will have input, because they keep saying, we gotta have input, and get documented input. I'm gonna reply to that, but all those other ones in between, I'm not replying to them.
I wouldn't.
Somebody is paying dearly for all those emails, and I'm not gonna contribute to that.
Okay.
So anyhow, do we have anything else on Stonegate for now, other than it'll be on the agenda
No, I just have it being on the next.
for the
agenda.
foreseeable future? Okay.
Next week or something, right?
Okay, and I'll forward the email to you, so you can send it to Eric and Bill. Okay.
Because it's the
If
first,
I may,
remember,
yeah, if I may talk about that, going back to the schedule of meetings, like, for instance, next week is July 6th. We're okay with meeting 2 weeks in a row? I don't care, do we need to?
up to you guys, I don't know what.
Well, we could have a short meeting, but what
That'd be
I
nice to
simply
have a
wanted to
short
say is to make sure for you that realize that next Monday is a holiday. So you need to make sure that you get out the announcement of the meeting the week before.
Yeah, so I can get that.
We're going to have
Thursday.
that problem because we're set on Wednesdays. We're going to have that problem with every holiday. You got to make sure you get out the agenda the week before.
Right,
Yeah, that's like the selectmen, they deal with that too. And stormwater, because that's our meeting. I got a special that day, but it's at 1, so that's no problem.
So I just want to bring up the holiday thing. That's
Okay,
what it is.
so how about, since we're going to change July the 20th,
Correct.
just move them, shift them up a week.
Why don't we just,
should we aim
Split
for
the
the
difference.
13th and not do it on the 6th, have the meeting on the 13th? And if we have to schedule something before August the 3rd, we can figure that out. But how's the
I
13th?
like that idea. Well, let me check my calendar, I think it's okay for me.
I think it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine
Because I'm
by
in
me.
that week, it's not.
Okay, so if you could just check with Eric and say that we're going to make revisions to the meeting schedule. And for July, we're looking at having a meeting on July 13th.
Mhm. And that's.
And we'll set the rest of the calendar then, and just tell them we have with the holiday week, the 6th looks like, are we going to have enough to really discuss,
Right.
whatever. And the 20th, we have to change anyhow because of conflicts.
That sounds
So-
like a plan,
All right, let's try the,
because this is the end of the month, it's not like much is gonna happen between
Yeah, that's
tomorrow.
what I was saying. I don't think much going to happen. So,
the
I like
other
that.
thing,
I mean, yeah.
the other thing too is July 13th falls just about the time that the fiscal year officially ends. Because even though it ends June 30th, there's a little period of time that the state allows to wrap up year end. So if anything comes up, we'll be closer to that date.
So you'll send out an official email to us that you've changed it.
Yeah, I gotta double check with, make sure it's
Right,
available,
right.
and then I will send everyone
Okay.
If it's not available, find out if
prime time.
the primetime
Okay.
meeting room is
That
open.
works out, the 13th works out.
Okay, but if, just in case, because ZBA had their meeting over there the last time, because there was something going on here, but that's an option. And another option is, which a lot of people don't use, but it's available, the meeting room at the police station, that public meeting room there that's off to the south side.
We're getting it in on the 13th, no matter where we are.
Yes, yes.
It sounds
We have to meet in the
wonderful.
pavilion, we'll have a clam bake or something,
Oh, there you go.
but
I'm liking this
Nancy's
thing.
Nancy's hosting.
So, but technically, if that were available, nobody's used it recently, but it is available. It's a community room or something, I don't know what they call it, but
I will.
just a thought. Okay, so we're looking at 9 AM on the 13th,
Yep. I will find out.
and we'll see. Okay,
Okay, on to the business.
agenda item 4A, warrant commitment for FY23 preliminary real estate tax bills.
You know what? I just gave you personal property. We will do it in the order.
And the first one is real estate.
Should be in the order. Yep, so that is so there's a warrant and commitment, so there's signatures on, there's
There's
two
a
for
whole lot
each.
of things here.
Oh, yeah. I swear it took me so long to get this
So these,
monster packet together. So this is showing what we're going to be receiving in taxes, property taxes, the preliminary. So that is for the 2 quarters, wherever the number is.
Mhm.
Oops, sorry. And then this is for the CPA, and we got the districts, the electric, the water, and the fire. Yes, it's hiding.
yep, there's another, okay. Oh, my goodness.
Yes.
I move that we sign the warrant commitments for the fiscal year 2023 preliminary real estate tax bills.
If you want, you can say for Real Estate Community Preservation Act and do this all in one motion, so we don't
That
have,
was my intention, yes.
Okay.
For real estate, CPA, electric district, water district, and fire district.
and I will step down in second. Any discussion?
Only that I'm trusting the numbers, I mean.
Well, that is the bill file, and it goes over to our Vadar billing company, and then it comes back to us with more verifications from me, and then it goes to the treasurer collector side, and they run through numbers there, and then the final product is, there's two papers on the paper on the end shows what the breakdown is, so.
So this will be, for
There's two to sign on it.
this will be the tax bills that
There's
come
more than
out.
one?
Yeah, there's a warrant and a commitment, so you
Gotcha.
sign
I'll
it,
have
yeah.
to take that one back to sign as well.
Yep. One goes to the treasurer, one goes to the accountant.
So this will be for the first tax
August and
bill.
November.
The new, first and second in the new tax year.
Yep.
All right, so there's that one, Bill.
What's the next one?
Yep, that's the personal property, same thing, but just personal property. And it's the same process of,
But this only,
there's no CPA on personal property, so it's just 4 instead of the 5.
make a motion that we sign the warrant commitments for the fiscal year 2023 preliminary personal tax bills for personal property, electric district, water district, and fire district.
Step down second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I don't think we officially eyed the last one.
Well,
Well, eyed the last one, too.
I wrote down that you did.
just for the record, the vote on item 4A, A, B, C, D, E, I'll just call that now. All in favor?
Aye.
Step down, I already stepped down. Yeah, yes, unanimous vote.
Today, it's either unanimous or nothing.
Right.
Yeah,
I was thinking about that as I was driving over, and like,
So I hope you were coming.
who's gonna settle all our differences?
well, the whole thing is,
Right.
without approving all these taxes, you can't send them out to get the tax bills. We'd have a lot of angry people, and they would be town
Well, it
officials.
depends on which side they're on.
No, they're town officials,
There
that's
might
what
be some happy people, too.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
I might be one of them. Now, the horrible thing would be, we wouldn't send out the taxes, and people wouldn't get it, and then when we did send them out, there'd be like late fees attached, and that'd be typical government.
And that's the day that you would come in to work in the office,
Yep.
to handle all the angry.
Pitchforks.
Mm. Waiting.
It upsets me that my signature degrades.
Suddenly it's just gonna be an X at the end of the night. I don't wanna be here that long, at the end of the night.
If it's an X, somebody's got to witness all the X's, so no, we don't want to do that.
Okay.
Agenda item 4C, warrant commitment for motor vehicle
This
commitment.
is the third commitment for the motor vehicle. Send out, I think, 6 or 7 depending during the year, so.
Move that we sign the warrant commitment for motor vehicle commitment, sounds redundant, 2022,
Step down and
23, I said, oh, no.
No, it's a dash,
03,
yeah, it's a
okay.
calendar motor vehicle.
Gotcha.
step down in second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, so agenda item 4D, motor vehicle abatements. So we do the tax commitment and then we
Money back.
we give the money back.
Take it away and we give it back.
Yeah,
Because we're a fair board, right?
that's right. So this is abatements for 2021 and 2022. It's not, I didn't have the numbers when I did it, because,
Just looking, all right. $128.
yeah, sometimes it's only a little bit.
Okay, I motion that we sign the motor vehicle abatements for 2021 and 2022.
I step down in second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries unanimously. Agenda item 4E, re-sign 61A rollback tax on Joanne Racine, map 8, lot 31.
Yes. So, tax, I based it off the forestry management plan, because it was unclear. But after talking to, at night, the solar guy,
Night.
Chris Knight, got clarification that so it's same thing you guys signed before, it's just the amounts are different because the acreage, I based it off of the forestry program, but their deed, I did it differently, I didn't know at the time.
So did the dollars, they go up or go down?
They went
Down.
down because
Okay,
$200.
I used what the forestry plan had and looked at their map that they submitted more than the deed,
okay.
because there's buffer zones.
6.4 acres versus 5.5 acres.
Yes.
Okay.
So
A
now I
motion
know.
that we re-sign the 61A rollback tax on Joanne Racine map 8, lot 31.
Step down in second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous. Agenda item 4F, re-sign 61A rollback tax on James E. Cabral. Trustee, Map 8, lot 27.
And the previous one
This is the
is,
same thing?
yes,
Same
same
problem?
thing, yeah, because we did them all at the same time, and they're submitting forestry programs, so it's a little different, because you have a forester that submits this, and I have these to sign. They got lost, I think, all the forestry programs, something happened, but I think it's supposed to be the chairman, so
So could you explain this to me again? Why is the acreage different?
So this is, when we receive the deed, this is how much that they're gonna be using the solar farm.
Mm-hmm,
The forest, but there's like a buffer zone,
okay. So you're not counting the buffer zone as part of it? Okay, understood.
but didn't know about that because that was kind of a new thing for me, so,
Motion that we re-sign 61A rollback tax on James E. Cabral, map 8, lot 27.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, vote unanimous. Agenda item 4G, signed 61A chapter land application for Joanne Racine, map 8, lots 31 and 80.
yep. And so I didn't put Cabral's on there also. It's,
All of this is going into chapter 61A?
this is, they removed certain acres, and they putting them back in.
But this is the same map and lot.
Right. Yes, but it's not the same acreage. So her, she has. With her, we have to have you guys re-sign something here too, because she is actually gonna be, there's a portion that someone's gonna farm. So we didn't account for that because she changed her mind, so that's why we need this other thing signed. But, so we got our 15. So originally, the acreage,
So please forgive me. My question is I believe what this we're signing here is a rollback, meaning it's coming out
Correct.
of 61A, right?
and then this is saying that they're keeping, the remainder is still gonna be in 61A, whatever's left.
All right. So this is portions of lot
Correct.
31. Is that correct?
Yes.
So, in effect, when they took it out of chapter, they took more out of chapter than they should have. And so now they're saying, oh, we don't need all that, put this back in. So the solar, where the solar farm is, that's out of chapter, but,
But the rest is still gonna be under the program and farmed.
okay, all right.
So my understanding is you just said there's a solar farm and then there's a buffer zone around it. What is this other land?
That is the remainder. They might have had 60 acres, but they only took out 15. So they're putting back in,
And how much is this? How much acreage? Is that
that one would be those two numbers, I think.
5.9?
added
Is that
up.
what that says?
I think 15.
Oh, and then
I think 15.45, I think that has there.
This one says 5.9 for vegetables.
Yep,
And
they have it broken out between two different,
15.4 in woodland.
yep, so they
So
must
grand
cut
total of
wood.
like 20 acres?
Yes. Which one is that? Is that Joanne?
Yeah, that's the first one.
Yeah.
So it sounds like they took out too much land initially.
Oh,
I don't think so. I think, so Joanne, she's got lot 31. There's 21.85 acres, and she's classifying 20.85. 1 acre is being held for the house.
Okay,
That's the one the house is on.
that's residential.
Yeah. And then she has got on map 8, lot 80, she's got 37. Like this is, we took it all out to fit. The solar farm took whatever the number is.
Right.
And then she's putting it all back in.
That's my, but that's what I said.
Well, you had to take everything out because the deed, the,
The deed had to
this will
be,
be incorrect
yes,
if you just, so you have to release it and then
okay,
put back in what is remaining in the
All right.
chapter program.
okay. But her rollback taxes will be based on where that what
Right.
acreage the solar farm is on.
Right.
Okay. All right.
So I think there's like,
Everything came out
Yep.
with item E. Rollback.
no, just a portion, just hers. Oh, this is, okay, this will be easier to see. So this lot, she had 20, well, she had the 21, right? One is for the house, so it doesn't count. So the 20.85, she took out 5.503. She's putting
So that
what's
acreage,
left back in of the.
so 15,
difference.
that's
That's-
this one?
uh,
15.45?
That's what it adds up to.
I believe that's correct, yep.
Yep, and then she's got another lot, which would be
The 5.9?
probably. Usually, the information's written there, but. Same with him, Cabral. So,
So I hate to be difficult.
No.
but I personally would like to see very clearly,
Well-
I just imagine in the future that it's going to be no clear,
well, usually
is
that's,
on what lot?
usually it looks like this,
yes, that's what I'm
and that's
saying.
usually how it looks. It's
And this,
just,
but they're talking about two different lots here.
right, and
and-
usually it has it, it's just missed for this reason, but I will have it put on there.
Would you be angry with me if I rejected this? Based on the fact it doesn't clarify what.
Well, I think it should state exactly what we're
should state
voting
it.
on.
I agree,
Exactly
it's
what-
just missed.
You mentioned Mr. Cabral, there's nothing on here for.
I know,
Can't talk about that, so that's gotta be on the next agenda. So why don't you, Mr. Moore, if you make a motion, table action on that until the next meeting, because we've got to do, in other words, we get the information for that, but also, there's going to be action on Mr. Cabral's property.
Right.
He's not on the agenda, so we
Okay.
can't talk about it anyhow.
Okay.
So I've been on a crusade to get the correct term. I'm going to make a motion to postpone this to the next, our next meeting.
Okay, and I'll step down in second. Okay, any further discussion?
Just that, just to be clarified.
Yeah, that's
I
fine.
personally want to see the exact,
Yep.
what's being classified. A map would be
I-
nice.
I actually have it inside here, but that's fine. Okay, so I will take these back.
So this was the July 13th.
So, aye.
Oh, so I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And just make a note to yourself to add Mr. Cabral for that next meeting.
Okay, so, if you want to just wait on this too, then, this is,
Now, that was 4G, so 4H is connected to that
Yeah, it's
also?
connected, so.
it's putting it back in. You guys already signed this, but she decided to change. Why don't we just hold off on
Yeah, well, I
So there's
move that we
that one too?
Postpone,
postpone that till next.
and I'll second that. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so the next two. All
right, so we're on-
Program that the chairman is supposed to sign copies of. so-
4I and 4J are connected?
Yeah, it's all Cabral and Racine, so,
And it has to be the chairman?
yes.
That's interesting.
Okay, so if we make a motion to authorize the chairman to sign and.
Oh, that's
get
true,
Eric-
you are the temporary chairman, I
Yeah,
guess.
but I'm going to ask that Eric sign this.
That's fine. We'll
All right.
postpone it.
We will,
Next time.
no, we
Do you want
can,
to postpone it or
we
sign it?
can vote to authorize the chairman to sign it.
Okay.
Excuse me, vote to authorize Chairman
Easter
Easter
Day,
Day to sign.
outside the meeting.
Yes, yes.
So I will make a motion that Mr. Easterday can sign the chapter forestry land for James Cabral. And, well, Joanne Racine, is that okay, or is that going to be,
Yes, this is items I and J, so
This
yes.
is the forestry
but
program.
is this is related to the acreage that we said we needed to be clarified?
This is what remains I mean, we can put it all together if you want.
Is it all,
I can-
so is this part of what we already talked about?
It's the remaining land.
It is.
All
I
right,
would.
forget that then.
Forget J.
Let's start over
Just
again.
I. I move that,
Postpone.
I move that, start with I, that we authorize Chairman Easterday to sign the certificate of chapter forestry land for James Cabral, map 8, lots 27.
And I'll step down in second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move that we postpone the item J to sign the certificate for Joanne Racine, map 8, lots 31 and 80, to our next meeting.
And I'll step down in second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Is, I think that Mrs. Racine is now set with what she wants to do with her property?
Yes.
This is, we think this is the final?
I think so.
Till next week.
So these are some bills.
Okay, so this is agenda item 4K, sign bills.
Yep, so that is your payroll. This is,
I don't think Nancy should get paid.
this is,
And I don't think the bill should get paid. We're just gonna pay Eric.
Yeah, well,
well, Eric's definitely not getting paid, he's not here.
that's right, he's not here. We could vote him not get paid.
That is,
Mileage?
yes.
Oh, is he, you driving
that's
around the
something-
houses?
Yes, that's, yes. And those are WB Mason. And Lisa made keys for our new door, that's that one. And then this is for the first half of the year for Richard Gonzalez, the consultant.
Okay, now I'm confused. I thought this was going to be hourly billed.
I looked through the contract, let me see what we got here. We know we need the 4,000 for the one half, and then 4,000 for the second half. So
So are these bills
The
coming out of
contract-
FY '22?
that is because we're overlapping, it's the year.
No, that's not my question. There are invoices there for Mr. Gonzalez.
The fiscal year,
Which budget are they coming out of? 22 or 23? Because if it's
20,
23, we should sign them next month, next meeting.
but this money goes
Statement dated-
away when the year's done.
No, all I need to know is, we're coming up on a fiscal closing.
Right,
He's done work in FY '22.
right.
Are these invoices for work in FY
2022.
'22?
It's 2022, says.
Right.
We're going to pay it out of,
2022,
exactly, okay.
Because
That was
he
my
is
question.
6-month calendar. and
Yeah,
it's
don't
6-month
even get
calendar.
into that. It's FY '22.
So this is how he bills us?
It's just a thing like that.
We don't have an accounting of the hours he's worked, or
I see that.
it's just one line item, $4,000. That's, I don't find that acceptable.
Ask Rich if he can give us dates. All right, ask him if he can give us a breakdown of the dates and the hours he worked. But we've got to get this immediately, I mean, super immediately. Also find out what's the last day you can give something to the town accountant.
Okay.
The other option is, if we approve this and we ask the town to hold a check so that we get the dates and the hours to review, that way we won't miss the fiscal year and have to go to a town meeting to pay an old bill, because we're coming up on a fiscal closing. So if.
I understand what you're saying, but my concern is, first of all, I find it very suspicious that the bill is exactly $4,000. It sounds to me like he's just sending us, like he's paid on as a,
Consultant,
like a salary. You know, like he's going to bill us $4,000 whether he works 1 hour or 1,000 hours. I'd want to know how many hours he actually worked. I signed a contract a couple of meetings ago that said, I believe it was $65 an hour or something like that. Not flat, I don't know, what was the contract from the year before? Was it a flat rate?
It's
The year
always been a
before?
flat rate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, what I signed last time was an hourly rate.
No, what I'm saying is that,
So this is, I had to use a long form. I just did this yesterday, finished it up for today, but, because the short form's only $5,000. So this is what,
This,
so this is the long form
this is
for
the
the town.
23, so this is for next year. And
where's the contract for 2022?
I don't know if we have a contract for 2022.
this is completely different than what I signed last time.
This is what you signed last time. I was told to connect
Okay,
a
so, yeah,
boilerplate form from the selectman's office to
yeah, I
that.
see the contract, the town contract.
Right here, compensation, $65 an hour. This is nothing about $4,000. That long form contract now says $4,000 in 1 year and $4,000 in the next year.
Signed this. I explained to, I was gonna say Rich, Mr. Gonzalez, this contract has got to be referenced in this contract, stating that attached here too is a copy of the contract submitted by Mr. Gonzalez. Attached here too to become a part hereof. So what's written in here has got to match what's here. So what we need is a contract from Rich that matches what's here. Again, this has got to be done immediately because we got 2 fiscal years. The other thing I will suggest is, I want 2 contracts from him because it's 2 fiscal years. We're making a commitment for 2 fiscal years on 1 contract. From my old job, from an audit standpoint, I don't consider that acceptable, all right? Tell Rich we need this broken down. He's billing at the rate of $65 an hour, all right? And he should state $65 an hour for X number of hours equal 4,000, if that's what the plan is. It's 2 different years, 2 of these that will match this, that say attached here to become a part hereof, okay? The other thing we need from him is an itemized dates and hours for the period he's billing, the 4,000. All of this has got to be done relative to this fiscal year, ASAP. All right, check with the town accountant, what is the last day?
I mean, I'm the one who wrote that contract, filling in the blanks, and I'm the one who did that bill. So
Okay.
it's not him saying, I just had him
Well,
sign
the
it.
fact of the
when we were
matter is,
working This week.
Bill's raised a point, the contract was $65 an hour. And it can say $65 an hour for X number of hours equals 4,000 for FY '22. But the invoice has got to be more detailed. And he probably hasn't done it in the past because he's billed it as a consultant. But even though you've written this in here, it should say at the rate of $65 an hour for the time period, not to exceed $4,000 for that second part. But it's also got to state, attached hereto to become a part hereof, because it's the town contract that gets enforced if there's any questions legally speaking, all right?
Because I asked Mike about it. I thought it should just be January, the January to June 30th, and then July 1st to December. But he didn't, I think he had,
Next time, ask me. All right, don't ask Mike, ask me, because I'm the one who told you how this had.
Right, because it was short
So-
form, you can go up to 5,000, long form.
Well, and by combining it, number one, you've crossed into 2 fiscal years, which I think is a problem. It's 2 separate appropriations. It should be 2 contracts, but that would give you 2 short forms.
Okay, yeah, it's kind of
All right,
like.
you get a contract from January 1 of '22 to December 31 of '20, it's 2 fiscal years. This is part of that whole discussion we had from the beginning about what are you doing, and why is this happening, and all this other stuff. So, because we have 2 sources of funding, meaning 2 fiscal years, this should be broken down that way. The main thing is, you gotta get in touch with Mr. Gonzalez and say, I need an itemized bill, dates and hours from you to attach to the bill that you sent, and I need it ASAP, because we got a fiscal closing coming up, okay? And I'm gonna reissue the contract. There's gonna be 2 contracts, 1 for each fiscal year. But the main thing is, we have got to get this, the itemization, and the contract for, that ends June 30th signed. So he can give us a breakdown and sign the contract at the same time.
So a couple of points I want to make on this. First of all, this contract is for next year. What's important for this bill is what was the contract for last year. If the contract for last year looks like this, then this is appropriate, that he just,
No,
$4,000, period.
No.
No, if the old contract, not this contract.
Did we have a
The old
contract?
contract,
I have to look, I don't know if we did.
look and find, because if there is an old contract that states, we're going to pay him $4,000, then we have to pay him $4,000, period. And he doesn't have to itemize. The second point I'd like to make is that it is not your job to be creating invoices for any contractor. He should be providing us with the bill. That's, I don't know, business 101. So get him to provide you with an itemized bill.
If you find there is a contract that goes from January to June of this year, you only have to issue 1 contract, July 1 to December 31,
Okay,
okay? If there is no contract, you got to issue 2. But they should be under the 5,000,
right.
okay?
Yeah, you understand?
Yeah.
Okay, so,
If you have questions on it, just let me know, all right? Um,
no, we're still in this, I'm not, we're gonna have to separate this out, but, okay, so WB Mason, what's this, 1,500 for real estate?
That is our
consultants?
RRC, they do our personal property. This is their.
Oh, the software bill?
Yep. So it's, it has the date here.
That's sort of a similar question. I assume we have some sort of contract with them that this is the appropriate amount of $1,500, and it's a flat rate?
Yes.
Okay. So,
So for agenda item next meeting, if you just make a note, sign contract with Mr. Gonzalez, because we're either going to have 1 or 2 to sign, but we should do that, we should vote on that at the next meeting, okay?
Yep.
so if you're okay with the form, I will say, I move that we sign all of the bills payable with the exception of Richard Gonzalez,
Okay, and for a total of, so reduce that by
for a
4.
total of $1,636.27.
36 what?
27,
27?
yes.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The next
And
item,
does that include, that does not include? this,
No, I
does it?
have those separate. Because they're not, they don't need a voucher,
Gotcha.
because they're got their own.
So what do I need to sign? Where do I need to sign here? Just,
That one, and you can sign on those.
you
so
want me to sign each individual bill?
I think so.
Okay,
on that top, that warrant,
yep,
put a line through and put your initials, and I will initial next to that. Put a line through the one we're not paying, and just put your initials, and I will initial it too, and then we can approve the rest of it.
and I'll also, this one's easier, I'll motion to pay the bills of
Sign the payroll.
mileage, the payroll, yeah.
Okay. And I'll step down and second it. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next agenda item is 4L, Eversource ATB documentation.
You would say,
Anywhere, it's fine.
that was a sloppy one.
So the Eversource, so here is the email, because I had to ask, and she forwarded it to her boss, and we followed recommendations.
Is that the guy who just sent it? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, they do our personal property, they do the utility valuing now. DOR doesn't do it anymore, so. So,
It sounds like something we don't even have to think about, right?
right. I did attach some tax bills showing,
Is there history on this? So I believe I saw that we denied on
it's.
March. And was it the same thing in March? That we were just told to deny it, so we did?
They sent this in January for the abatement process, and we denied it.
Mm-hmm.
So that was, denied is denied. We don't deny a certain amount. It's 2022's, they're denied an abatement. But they still have to pay every quarter.
What is the basic, do you have any idea? What is the
Well,
beef?
so they're saying that we're using, it tells it, I read it on,
The assessed value substantially exceeds fair market value. So what are they basing that on, you know?
so they're saying that we use a different, personal property consists of gas, utility. One of these.
Curious as to what all the hubbub's about.
The appellee has used an incorrect valuation methodology and mathematical computation that has significantly overvalued the appellant's personal property. That's
So
what they
we
say.
use this company, real estate
Yep.
research consultants
Yep,
to set the value,
yep,
and, which is Brian here.
Yep.
And the complaint is that the number that he picked is not correct, that his math is incorrect. Is that
right, that's what, yes.
So do we need to sign? or do we need to
That,
do-
I think it's really more of just informational, I think, because I stamped saying I received it and sent it back.
Mhm.
So I think this is kind of just,
So
FYI.
Yeah.
right, okay.
my understanding is
Oh,
if
you got
somebody,
one?
yeah, I got one. If somebody challenges an assessment, which Eversource has done, it goes to the company we hired to do the assessments to determine value. And we, as recommended, denied an abatement based on what our consultant came up with.
yes,
So the Eversource is now saying, we want a hearing. So this Buckley has got to go to that hearing and defend the assessment and the methodology used to determine the
I
tax.
would imagine so.
Yeah, because they, from what I can
Probably the
see.
DOR would probably be involved too,
Because, oh,
because.
yeah, because they, whoever the company is, they represent us, therefore, okay, I understand, because when I read
It's
it,
not just us that receive this.
Every
Everyone.
town in the
well,
state.
Yeah.
when we had the assessors
I think so,
meeting
yes.
back in the fall, November, December, whenever that was, our guest speaker, that head assessor from Fall River, I think it was, told us this was coming and that we could expect. We were all going to feel the pinch because he was talking about Eversource hitting everybody, every community. And he talked about electric rates. And my question specifically was, we don't have Eversource for electricity. We have National Grid. He says, you've got natural gas. Yes, he says, it's included. So you are going to get hit. We thought we might be excluded.
Spared, yeah.
Yeah,
No, we aren't going to be spared. So, yeah, I
So
remember
from our
that.
point of view, this is really just about the gas infrastructure, right?
Yes, yes. And we're represented by this law firm who is hired by the people who did the assessment to determine the value. So we sit back and watch this.
Okay. Sad part is that you and I will end up paying the bill for everything in the end.
I think it was my gas bill came in for the, whatever the latest period was. The total cost of the gas was $9 and change. The cost to deliver that gas to me was $20-some.
it's crazy.
To put it through,
The only thing left is the 2 minutes. Did you have a chance to look through the minutes at all?
oh, we got do we have any public input?
input.
Oh, sorry, I skipped right over.
Any public input?
There was a ghost came in at some point.
Yeah, that could be the ghost might tell us.
No public input. Do we have any correspondence? Don't have anything. No correspondence. Okay, so we have 2 sets of minutes.
I looked at these already.
Anything you needed?
I've looked at them too.
Oh, they're not perfect like last time.
I'm not gonna rip off an old scab, that's all, so just let it be, it's fine. Do we have to sign it? We don't have to sign it or anything, right?
Motion to
The
approve
motion to accept the minutes as presented,
of June 8th and May 18th.
June 8th and May 18th.
And I'm stepping down, second that. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Vote unanimous. Since I'm the acting chairman for this meeting, you will be secretary, clerk, excuse me, clerk pro tem, so you'll sign the minutes for this meeting,
Okay,
okay?
I've actually signed those? Is that-
No.
Put his name at the,
So at the end, where it says respectfully submitted, you put William Moore pro tem. Pro tem. And in the meeting minutes, you refer to me as acting chairman, okay? There's no signature page here. Oh, here it is. Oh, it's all on one. Double-sided. Yes.
save a tree.
Are there any unanticipated items? I don't think so.
I have one thing I want to bring up,
Okay,
I feel like new business, oh, no, it's not new business.
okay, you can, I'm going to back up and go to agenda item 5, public input, so you can bring it up there.
Oh, okay, sorry.
You're a public.
I'm the public.
present.
I saw I'm not sure this is even Board of Assessors business, but I saw something on Facebook that I found interesting that related to our position as fence viewers. There is a debate about a fence going up. You have documents?
No, this is, I just remembered, because you have to go and get sworn in as fence viewers.
So there's more. Yeah, so I thought that, when I saw that on Facebook, they said something about Tom Ferry heading out there, and I was like, I think that would be under our purview as fence viewers, to settle any disputes over a fence.
Right.
So what should we do about that?
So without knowing the rest of it, I don't know what to say.
So the issue was, I guess this is up by the, is it Spring? And it's up in the North Dayton Village by the
The mill?
factory, by the mill there, yeah. The two main roads where they connect, somebody put up a fence, and it's blocking the view of people at that intersection.
That's why Mr. Ferry's involved. That's a traffic situation. As opposed to-
However, a fence that we would have to determine as, because I looked it up, as fence, I keep wanting to say fence sitter.
I don't want you sitting on the fence, so.
As fence viewers, it would be our job to determine if the fence were legal or not. And part of that is how tall is the fence and how close is it to the roadway?
Okay, so that crosses into the turf of the building commissioner, because he's the only one that can issue a permit for a fence. So what you're describing, again, because I don't do Facebook, so I don't know exactly what they're saying, but from what you're saying, there are actually, the questions really are, is it a fence viewer field driver situation? If it were out in the middle of a field or the woods, I'd say, yeah. The reason I'm saying I don't believe it's us is, number one, the building commissioner should have been, if they haven't already been, he should be contacted, because he would have issued the permit for it, unless it's been there for years
No,
and
it's
years.
new, they
All
said,
right.
yeah.
And then the other thing too is, because it's blocking the view at an intersection or whatever, the highway superintendent has to get involved. So I think the resolution of that, as described, is something that's got to be worked out between Mr. Ferry and Mr. Aguirre. Because it's really not a
So
dispute
I
of a
believe,
fence.
I respectfully disagree, because it is not on the road, so therefore it's not in the purview of the highway department. I'm not sure, my understanding, so many things you have to know. I don't think you need a building permit for a fence.
Absolutely you do. No
I
question
have heard,
about it.
and maybe it's different towns, but I've heard
I know
before-
Somerset, you don't right now, you don't have.
In the town of Dayton, you absolutely do. You do have to have one.
I mean, it doesn't make sense not to, since how about the property line, all the information?
Well, the other thing is, the reason.
Well, that was the point of the fence viewer job, is to determine what is the proper place to put the fence.
On the boundary line.
Yeah, yeah.
So as I'm almost messing this up, as fence viewers, we would be called out, again, if there's a dispute about a boundary. It doesn't have to be a fence, it can be a stone wall, or there's a
course,
marker over
yeah.
in the ground and a marker in the ground, and we try to figure this out. And that worked in the older days, but quite frankly, if we were called out for that, we'd probably say, has anyone had these properties
Surveyed.
surveyed?
Right.
And if you still have a dispute, this is a civil matter, you're going to have to take action if you decide to. But a fence between properties can be placed on the boundary. It is the building commissioner who is the person who issues the permit. And when that permit gets issued, that goes, the Board of Assessors is advised, because that adds value to the property, and it's considered part of the taxable property on that. So that's why it's done that way.
So what you're saying is that this will be resolved by Mr. Ferry? Is that the bottom line?
I think Mr. Aguirre and Mr. Ferry, whoever is concerned, whoever did the posting, whatever, okay, so the person says, my neighbor put up a fence, and now I can't see, I come to this intersection, and
But there are rules about that. I mean, so
Exactly.
generally, you're allowed to put fences on your property, on the property line, but not in the roadway. In the roadway, you have to have a certain amount of buffer.
that's why Mr. Ferry's involved. I'll give you another example. On the corner of Hart and Pleasant Streets, that's a true T intersection now. Years ago, if you were going towards the river, people started cutting off the corner. So there was a little grassy island there, okay? And that continued for years. It was dirt. It was part of somebody's lawn, but it was there for years and years and years. Well, then the problem was, it was only wide enough for one vehicle. Well, if school buses were on that road, they started using it. Well, if somebody's going south on Pleasant and wants to cut across, and you've got a school bus coming down Hart, this is not gonna work. There were real concerns about safety there. So what happened was, the highway superintendent was instructed to eliminate that illegal crossing, pull up the pavement, put down the loom and seed it. Because in looking at that map over there, goes back to the 1800s, that was a true T intersection. And that little piece of land that got cut off for that crossing really belonged to that house on the corner of Pleasant and Hart. Thought everything was resolved until the owner of the property planted a whole bunch of shrubs and bushes and trees. Then, not trees, but obstructions that as they grew, as you got down to Hart Street, you had to keep edging out. So in that case, the complaint came back to the town, and Mr. Ferry was responsible for contacting them, telling them, you've got to trim those bushes back, and he told them exactly how far back they had to go, and I think it was line it up with that utility pole. You can't have them growing beyond that point, so.
I want to say it was like 6 feet or something.
Again,
I've heard the same thing about corn, like you can't grow corn right to the corner of your property.
yeah, you can't do something to obstruct what would be considered the public safety people. But anyhow, in this particular case, again, because I don't know the exact location, a new fence would have been permitted unless they put the fence up without a building permit, in which case they got another problem, because the building commissioner can order it taken down. So the person who, I'll say, is aggrieved by what has happened, plus has pointed out the fact this is a public safety problem because it obstructs the view for motorists, should contact, I would start with the building commissioner. And if it wasn't.
So what I saw in the post was that Tom Ferry was going to go out there on Friday.
Well, they may have contacted Tom thinking it's a road problem, but again, he will check with Mr. Aguirre to
That's
find
right,
out if it's
he'll pick it up.
Yeah.
I was just simply stating that, it seemed to me that as a fence viewer, that would fall under our purview of saying there's a fence dispute, so we should have something to do with it.
So that's just, you'll sign the real one over.
Oh, so we gotta,
That's just, you gotta go to the.
oh, these
clerk.
are our copies.
Yes.
We gotta go sign.
Yeah, you have to go get sworn in.
Okay, so what have I got? Attleboro Taunton,
Sworn in to go check out the fence.
MMA.
Yeah, you
Okay.
have one. I have one.
Yeah, we held off on stormwater because we gotta do this.
427 Estabrook Avenue. That's right.
No, oh, I gotta get a post office box for me.
472 Estabrook is Carol. I don't know. So they,
Please.
They- Oh, I got
Get
4
that
of them
straightened
here.
out.
okay,
Okay, so,
minutes are good.
okay, so.
That was it.
That was public
So we're
input.
not doing anything about that. It's fine.
Not at this point. Again, if the Facebook posting said Mr. Ferry's going, that means somebody contacted him.
Right. I'll follow up. I'll post another one that we talked about it.
Um,
And Mr. Ferry's the right person.
And he's doing it Friday. Tom's on vacation this week, but that's Tom. If he gets a call, yeah. All right, so there were no unanticipated items, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn,
I motion that we adjourn.
and I'll step down and second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, meeting is adjourned at, looks like 10:54.
54.
So would you shut that off, please? Yeah.